Hi, welcome to another episode of That Can't Be Right, a podcast about exploring structural wrongs, cultural oddities, and wild opinions. I'm your host, Ryan Rogan, and in this episode, The Circle of Life brings us back to Beyonce. But first, subscribe to this podcast so it shows up on your device every Wednesday. When your Hinge match asks what you've been doing for fun lately, tell them about That Can't Be Right, and tell them you'll be very impressed if they leave a 5-star review. Finally, any questions, comments, or concerns, send them my way at TCBRPod on Twitter and Instagram, or thatcan'tberightpod@gmail.com. I think that's enough. Let's jump into it. Welcome to That Can't Be Right, a podcast dedicated to exploring structural wrongs, cultural oddities, and wild opinions. I am your host, Ryan Rogan, and I have literally never been so excited to record anything. The subject matter today is something, one, I'm an expert on, two, I love. That is Beyonce. For those of you who don't know who Beyonce is, where have you been? I'll give you a 5-sentence biography. Started her career with Girls' Time, rebranded to Destiny's Child, found time to give us a gift that is Carmen, a hip opera, made some changes to the Destiny's Child's lineup. Then she went solo, has had a fantastic career, recently set a record for most Grammys won by a female artist. I love her music. Soundtrack to most of my life, now that I've taken the time to count it. That said, a few months ago, this journalist, Wesley Lowery, tweeted, mostly goaded by his group chat, that Beyonce has never released an R&B album. And my immediate reaction was that can't be right. Beyonce is one of the biggest international music stars of the last 20 years. And first, no, it took me some time to get to the number 20 because initially I said 10 and realized 10 years ago was still Obama's first term and Beyonce was 4 albums deep by that point. But Beyonce's been putting on for Houston since 1994. Anyway, my reaction was essentially the kombucha girl face. So I reached out to Wesley and he's a busy guy, so he never got back to me. That's fine. I don't care. Doesn't bother me. I've got my own expert. Lesley Gwam from Chicago, Illinois. First of her name, frequently mistaken for me by students and professors alike at the UT Anderson School of Management. Collector of degrees, podcast producer and host in her own right. Lesley, welcome to That Can't Be Right.
Thank you for having me and calling me an expert. Whoa, no pressure.
No pressure. No
also,
pressure.
Shout out to Wesley because he is from Shaker Heights, Ohio, which is where my cousins are from. I was born in Cleveland. I left and, grew up in Chicago. My family stayed in Cleveland and my cousins are from Shaker and went to high school with Wesley. So shout out to him.
Oh, okay. So he'll hear this eventually is what you're saying.
Yeah, right. It's got to route it through the right route.
Yeah. Perfect. I think it's important that we start by saying we both are fans of Beyonce.
Yes. I wouldn't call myself Beehive, but I do enjoy Beyonce.
I'm from Houston. I love Beyonce. People would think I'm Beehive, but that takes a level of passion and action I am not willing to do.
And emotional instability?
I won't comment on anyone's emotional stability. I have no idea what's going on behind some of those Beyonce fan accounts. But just on the off chance that the Beehive stumbles across this episode, I just want to make it very clear. Beyonce's greatness is not up for debate. I'm from Houston. I love her. I've seen her on every tour. I've seen Destiny's Child at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. Lesley, do you want to offer any protections or devotion to Beyonce to protect yourself?
Yes, I would like to do that. First of all, I was playing by emotional instability. Y'all take a joke. Also, I was in that camp for a while. I'm not going to lie that Beyonce's great, but she's not amazing. Jill Scott's a much better singer, blah, blah, blah. And then honestly, her Coachella performance happened. Beachella or whatever they call it. And I was just useless for the next week. I couldn't comprehend what happened. I didn't even watch it live. I watched it in my room on my computer. And every 5 seconds, I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? What is happening? Oh my, she's singing and dancing. And I still watch the Everybody Mad clip.
Who
quarterly.
doesn't? Who doesn't?
Just for motivation. Because what? She had twins. I'm getting there. I'm going there again.
You're there.
I can't complete sentences. That's where I was and where I remain. So from that moment on, I was like, oh, she's the greatest living entertainer. There's actually no debate.
Wonderful. I'm glad we're on the same page. So we know who Beyonce is. We know how much Lesley and I love Beyonce. Lesley, what was your initial reaction to the tweet?
you know what? Kombucha Girl as well. Like, wait a second. No, wait. But maybe? Because I was thinking about it. Like, well, what is pop? What is R&B? Is she just that much of a star that everything she does is pop? I don't know. And it really got me thinking. So shout out to Wesley.
Yeah. Wesley, who's definitely listening to this episode. Lesley, you bring up a great point. How are we defining pop and R&B? How would you define it for the purposes of this conversation?
For me, when I think pop, I think things that are like really lighthearted, easily to dance to. Maybe like there's not as much emphasis on vocal as there is like the music, and the music being a bit more like maybe synth or like quote unquote artificial sound based versus R&B, which is very heavy in like live instruments, and like you can tell from like the chord progressions or even like the minor chords that it's an R&B album. You're going to hear certain harmonies that you probably wouldn't hear in pop records, and like vocal runs. Vocal runs to me are like a staple of an R&B record. The combination of all of those things, really.
Okay. So I think we have like some good grounding to have this conversation. To go, what we're going to do is go track by track. And we might not hit all the tracks on every album, but tracks that are definitively pop, definitively R&B, what's going on here. And we're going to go album by album. And to make it clear, because Homegirl went crazy on B-Day and Sasha Fierce with like the deluxe, localized, regionalized editions, we are listening to the standard version, standard release of each album. So, and we're only going to look at her solo work. Dangerously in Love, B-Day, I Am Sasha Fierce, 4, Beyonce, and Lemonade.
Okay, I understand I'm like totally jumping the gun, but I'd like to know which one is your favorite.
Oh, that's a good question. Probably Beyonce, followed by Lemonade.
Yeah.
Depends on the day of the week and how like I'm feeling about men. But I think Beyonce, then Lemonade, and then the others can just kind of fall in line. That said, wait, what's your favorite? Sasha Fierce?
She is trolling me because she knows I have very strong opinions about that album. Honestly, B-Day is my favorite, followed by Lemonade. And then everything else is kind of just like, actually, I think, yeah, those two. And then number 3 is between Beyonce and 4.
Wonderful, wonderful. And if you're listening and you agree or disagree with anything we say in this episode, you can let me hear it at TCBR Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and I will share it with Lesley and the world just by retweeting, unless you're on a private account, in which case I won't see it, can't retweet it. Your opinion doesn't matter. So now, we're going to answer the week's old question. Has Beyonce Giselle Knowles-Carter released an R&B album in her career? Alternative titles for this episode. Is this an R&B album, or is the singer just black? My ultimate thesis, Wesley can't be right, but I think Beyonce's more pop-oriented singles, like you were saying, lighthearted singles, have a wider reach than her R&B hits. So let's get started. Let's go back to 2003.
What a time.
What a time.
Terrible fashion. Terrible fashion.
Terrible Dutch fashion. Hats. Yeah, Von Dutch hats. Lots of
low-rise jeans.
Low-rise jeans. Lots of like cutting of the jeans at the boot and at the waist so you don't have a belt. And as someone whose leg proportions have always required a belt, not a fan.
Ryan is long as hell, y'all.
I am. And that's a common refrain in the group chat. I can't get away, but I love it. And it's 2003. I was still probably 99 percentile, head and shoulders over all the other 6th and 7th graders. More importantly, we're a few years removed from Survivor by Destiny's Child, kind of launching them into a new level of fame in their career. Beyonce and Jay-Z are like seen together, but I don't think they're acknowledging their relationship at that point.
Yeah.
And she drops Dangerously in Love. Immediate reaction, Dangerously in Love, R&B album or pop album?
R&B album, through and through.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
There's not one song on here to me that I'm like, it's a pop record, because even Crazy in Love, which was obviously the lead single, was really inspired by One Thing by A. Marie, which is an R&B album. And if you want to say it's another genre, then it's go-go. It's not pop.
Right. It's, yeah, exactly. And in listening to Beyonce's albums more closely for this episode, was like, well, it's not really R&B, but it's also not pop either. So Wesley still kind of can't be right. So we already know this is an R&B album. We already know that tweet isn't correct. But
Podcast over. Done.
Yep, everybody. Listen to the next episode. You know how I know this is an R&B album?
How?
The interlude. Do pop stars do random spoken interludes?
Well, Justin Bieber, that's true. Justin Bieber is now an R&B sensation, right?
Yes.
And he had an MLK interlude.
Yes.
So you're right.
Interludes are a uniquely R&B thing, I believe. I don't recall hearing them on other albums. They're random, they're spoken. Sometimes they seem to have to do with the album. A famous interlude is Usher, Confessions.
Wait, put that on everything.
Can't be serious. Anyway, man, the audio. Anyway, so I don't know if there's much more to say. I think you have Crazy in Love, R&B. You have Naughty Girl. You have Hip Hop Star with Big Boy. You have The Closer I Get to You with Luther, who is quintessential R&B.
Which is a remake of Donny Hathaway and Roberta Flack.
Yes. R&B.
And Me, Myself, and I. Yeah, exactly. That song to me is R&B defined, really. Like, it's the minor chords, it's the way she's singing, it's even the like call and response runs at the end. R&B.
And that song live, Me, Myself, and I live, is one of my favorite Beyonce performances. Mm-hmm. And I know that's like beyond the scope. Lesley has a JD, y'all, so she knows what that means. Beyond the scope, but it's an R&B
it's a flex.
album.
That's a flex, but it's fine.
So I know I already said it's an R&B album, but I do also want to say my favorite moment from Dangerously in Love is when Beyonce's dancing in front of the fans and she does the thumb lick down her chest. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Iconic.
Yep. It is.
Legendary. I saw On the Run with a friend, and he just like was looking at me as I was looking at her, waiting for her to do that. Just giddy. I was just so happy. So
I wish you would have recorded that moment, like, of you.
Nobody else can see me doing the little kid excited face with my hands clenched, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
It's okay. I fought tears when I saw the Everybody Mad sequence live.
Oof.
Because I went On the Run too as well.
Same. Love it. And gosh, how talented. Anyway, so at the end of each album, I'm going to ask you like a random question. So the first one is favorite track on Dangerously in Love.
Jeez. You know what? It's got to be Yes.
Okay.
I love a good B-side.
Yes. Same. And now is as good a time as any to mention, I am kind of disappointed that Beyonce hasn't released an album called B-Sides.
Look at that. Somebody has an MBA. Somebody took entertainment marketing.
Preach. Preach. Okay. Alrighty. We're ready to go on to the next album. It's B-Day. Beyonce, in between Dangerously in Love and B-Day, has started touring. She was in Dreamgirls. And according to Wikipedia, B-Day was heavily influenced by her recording B-Day was heavily influenced by her experience recording Dreamgirls or filming Dreamgirls.
I can hear that. I can definitely hear that.
Yeah. So when you read that, or I tell you that, it makes sense, the tracks on the album.
Yeah, because B-Day was a very loud album. And I think that's why I like it, because it energizes me so much. Because, like, Green Light, Freakum Dress, like, Ring the Alarm, Get Me Body, which is my favorite song from that album. Like, they all invoke so much energy, and you could probably, and like a lot of horn sounds. And that's definitely something that came from that Dreamgirls era. So that makes a lot of sense now that you say it. Totally.
And again, going back to your earlier point, it's not straight up R&B, but it's still not pop. And if there were, I don't know, a Venn diagram or just like a spectrum where it lands, it still lands closer to R&B than pop to me.
I know, I agree with that, but I still think it's very, very close to being like R&B. Maybe it's more like R&B / soul, once again, because of like the heavy live music and horn sounds, because like those horn sounds give me those like Earth, Wind and Fire vibes, which no denying that's R&B, but that's R&B soul versus like, I don't know, Erykah Badu or something that's like R&B neo soul.
Exactly. There are those modifiers, and that's something I wrote in my notes. Modern R&B with horns several times when talking about this album.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple of notes about like why it is definitely R&B. One, dance instruction songs only come in country and R&B.
And she talks about weave, patting your weave in particular.
Okay.
Granted, that's a black thing, but also R&B.
100%. That said, Ring the Alarm, I have no idea how to, if I had to categorize that song, no clue.
Yeah, it's got so many different influences. It has a heavy rock influence, but the attitude you're giving me is very R&B. Definitely not pop. That's what I can say for sure.
Again, where does it fall? Not pop. We know that much. Mm-hmm. That said, Irreplaceable is a straight up pop hit.
Irreplaceable is actually as pop as it gets. It was written by Neo along with some like Swedish guys, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's very bubblegum, very easily repeatable, extremely pop.
Do you remember when Neo kind of got mad that she was saying she wrote it to start performances?
Oh, Neo was shading her, and I lived for shade. Toxic trait, perhaps. But yeah, he was like, she threw a ooh and ah in there, and once she wrote it, then like, okay.
I wonder if they've worked together again. One,
I feel like we wouldn't know about it.
Yeah. And two, it's just like, why kind of bite the hand that feeds you? There are so many people who have no idea who Neo is, but they know Beyonce. So just like take your credit and roll with it.
Did Carrie Hilson teach you nothing?
Who?
Mike Jones.
Hey, next album. Leslie's favorite, I Am Sasha Fierce. So Beyonce's doing the concept album thing. Kind of a big deal here. It was a double album. Mm-hmm. One of her own personality, I Am, and then one of her onstage alter ego, Sasha Fierce. It's 2008. Obama is elected president. And middle-aged white women everywhere, just flopping their hand around to the tune of Single Ladies. I think this is where the conversation gets interesting. My initial thoughts. I Am Sasha Fierce is a pop album.
Yeah.
Collectively.
Agreed.
But if you break it down, I Am versus Sasha Fierce, I Am is straight up pop. Sasha Fierce is anchored by big pop single ladies. But I think all the other tracks, Radio, Diva, Sweet Dreams, Videophone, I would call all of those R&B.
I call Sweet Dreams pop. For sure.
Okay.
Because I could hear one of the pop girls singing that song today. Like I could hear that being a... Demi Lovato's been heavy on my mind since I watched the documentary.
Yep, we've talked about it.
Yes, but I could hear her singing that song easy. I can't hear her singing like Ego.
True.
Which is very clearly an R&B record to me.
Yes, definitely. I think, you know what song just doesn't fit anywhere? Ave Maria.
Whatsoever.
I don't know what she was singing there. That was a Let Me Do This on Beyonce, and they said, okay, I guess.
Right, exactly. But I also loved Videophone. I will say I liked that song because Gaga was on the remix of the original?
Remix.
Okay, yeah. And I remember like, oh, this is an R&B record, and Gaga is singing R&B, and she's getting it. So like, I understood the Gaga stand-up while also becoming one with my Beyonce stand-up as well. Pivotal moment in my journey with B.
Those were fun videos too.
They really were.
I don't remember if they were on MTV, like was it MTV, Let's Make a Video, or Behind the Scenes, Make a Video? I don't know what the show is called.
Yeah.
But I think one or both of them were on there. Making the Video. Look at you, conjugating the verb and nailing it. Clearly, I was not going to get there.
Things I remember, but like periodic table of elements, not up there.
So what? we're business students or
True.
business graduates. MBAs are the worst. But yeah, that was, again, huge moment. I think Single Ladies, Halo, If I Were a Boy, those being
I hate If I Were a Boy.
Ooh.
Like so much. And like this is like a wild take. And I'm standing on it. Sierra's version of that concept was much better.
Much better. I don't know if I agree with that, but I did enjoy both.
I did not like If I Were a Boy, and I hated Halo too.
Leslie, both of them?
Yeah, that's why I hate this album. This is like my least favorite Beyonce album, like, and it's not even close. Like, other than I really like Diva. Single Ladies is a cultural moment, and I love spinning to that song, so like I get it. Ego is a lot of fun too, but outside of those records, I'm so fine.
Wow.
But I love her. Beehive, please.
A lot was just uncovered there. I owe you a question here because I forgot to ask on the last album, actually. But was there a song when going back through this album that you're like, oh yeah, I forgot how much I love this song?
Diva. Because
yes.
Like my favorite Beyonce song, which I'm jumping way ahead here, but whatever.
Spoiler alert.
Yes, exactly. Is Love on Top, because it just makes me feel so light and happy every time I hear it. But I had a very similar feeling hearing Diva. I think also because that song came out when I was like early in college and really becoming an adult and like quote unquote like really feeling this whole boss woman idea. And that song was like the soundtrack for that feeling. So it kind of takes me back there as well.
I get it. And something I want to mention with the whole pop versus R&B discussion about this album, looking at the Grammy nominations, right? The artists, submit themselves. Some Grammy committee decides if they're in the right category or whatever. Ring the Alarm was nominated for Best Female R&B Vocal Performance, which boggles the mind.
The Grammys love to remind Beyonce that she's R&B because she's Black. Because, again, we've discussed this. Like, R&B, Black are supposedly synonymous, but, like, how on earth is Lemonade not... Lemonade is not an R&B album. I know I'm jumping way ahead. We'll get to that. We'll discuss why in a minute. But it's not. So the fact that she won an R&B Grammy for that lets me know that it's because she's Black.
Yep. Alternative title. Maybe we'll just make that the main title.
I think I like that.
Love it. And so Ring the Alarm got Best R&B Vocal Performance nomination. Deja Vu got Best R&B Song and Best Rap Song Collaboration nominations. Irreplaceable was nominated for Record of the Year and lost. I Am Sasha Fierce was nominated for Album of the Year and lost, but did win Best Contemporary R&B Album.
Reminders.
Halo did win Best Pop Vocal Performance.
Okay.
Single Ladies won Song of the Year, Best R&B Song, Best Female R&B Vocal Performance. So I think maybe, Beyonce, if you're listening, I think you probably agree with us that, like, you're doing both R&B and pop. Your pop songs reach higher highs than your R&B songs, which also do very well.
Yeah. Question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Single Ladies becomes the anthem that it does without the video?
No, because you had the video, you had a dance people could try to imitate. Mm-hmm. You had the SNL skit with Justin Timberlake and Andy Samberg.
You know that
Bobby
name is triggering
Moynihan.
to me.
Which one?
That former boy band member that you mentioned.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Okay, yeah. And then you had Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd is a great guy. Paul Rudd was in that skit too. So we'll focus on him. But no, I don't think so, because the dances, if you say Single Ladies, hands just start flopping and flying around. It's a pretty iconic move.
I don't know why calling it flopping just makes me laugh so hard every time you said it. But you said it 3 times now, and each time I'm like suppressing laughter because I have a very loud laugh. People may or may not know, so I'm trying not to like mess up the mic. But every time you say flopping, I'm like getting an ab workout, just so you know, because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, because nobody stays on beat, and it's almost like a wave but
We had a
flop feels
professor do
better.
that. One of our professors did that at Anderson. I won't name her, but I said her, so you know exactly who I'm talking about.
I sure do. Bet she has a single lady's costume straight from the set. I am convinced. Okay, that's Sasha Fierce, Leslie's favorite album. Next up is 4. The year is 2011. Beyonce and Jay-Z are openly acknowledging their relationship. Some big things. She's killed Sasha Fierce. She doesn't feel like she needs Sasha Fierce as an alter ego anymore. She has split with her father, Matthew Knowles, as her manager. She performed at Glastonbury, which was amazing. And if the link is still on YouTube, I will put that in the show notes. And then 4 leaks. 4 leaks a few weeks before it's supposed to release. And so, of course, Beyonce's mad. And that's why, they have a lock and key grip on music now. But another important thing I remember it being a big deal that she was going to be doing some of the writing herself, or more of the writing herself. So what do you think, Lesley? 4, R&B or pop?
This is a great example of what you mentioned earlier. It is an album that I want to say is R&B based, but the breakout singles for the most part are pop. So if you categorize it as a pop album, I understand, because there are quite a few pop records on here, but I feel like the actual breakdown is like half and half.
You say half and half? I had like 3 pop songs. On 4?
Really?
Are we on the same
talk
album?
about this.
Okay.
Let's talk about this. Yeah.
Okay, I think we're going to just go track by track.
Okay.
1 + 1.
R&B.
I Care.
That one can go either way to me, honestly. Because it has that like grandiose. Oh, you know what? Pop. And you know why I say that? Because I'm grouping it with. I'm skipping ahead here, but I'm grouping it with I Was Here. I Was Here, written by Diane Warren. What does Diane Warren make? Pop ballads. I Care, very similar tone to me. So those both are pop records to me.
Okay. I'll give you that one. I had I Care as R&B. I do have I Was Here as pop. I Miss You.
I'm trying to remember that song, honestly. It's one of those I kind of like to skip over. What did you say?
I said R&B because the first 2 are kind of songs I skip over.
Okay. I'm willing to say that's R&B.
Next, Best Thing I Never Had.
This one is so tricky because initially I say it's pop, just hearing it. But then when I started researching, because I went back and looked up like Wikipedia and then producer notes, and I saw that it's like a Babyface record. But it's also just like, am I doing exactly what everybody else does? Like, because Babyface is black and is responsible for all these other R&B records, this automatically makes this R&B record. Well, in reality, Babyface is also written with like Fall Out Boy and stuff. So to me, Best Thing I Never Had is a pop record that I love, but a pop record nonetheless.
Same. I also feel like people gave it a lot of flack when it came out as like too poppy, too cheesy, but I love it.
I love that song.
Love the song, love the video. Next up, Party, the Andre
R&B.
3000 version only.
Only. We don't recognize the other one. Sorry, Jermaine, but we just don't.
Sorry to that man. If I saw him on the street. I can't stand J. Cole. Rather Die Young.
Wait, I want to go back to Party.
Okay,
and talk about how incredibly R&B this song is. Because those harmonies, those 4-part harmonies are based in church. Those come straight from Southern Baptist Church. So that there's no way you can categorize that anything else.
It's a perfect song also.
It is absolutely perfect.
And Lesley knows, like, I had some technical difficulties. I couldn't figure out how to play some Beyonce while we were listening. Maybe I'll add it in post, as they say in the biz.
Look at you. Podcast extraordinaire.
Yes. Party, love it. And the reason I'm so disappointed is Lesley mentions these harmonies and I think of them and my mouth wants to sing them, but my mind and my heart know I can't.
You want to try together?
I want people to finish this episode, so at least on my end, it's best if I don't. I don't know where you are on the singing spectrum. Woo!
Yeah.
Party.
And the video
Perfect.
was fun too.
Video was super fun. You know, and I know we mentioned like 3 Stacks version only. Jermaine's verse was fine. I'm just not like a huge J. Cole fan. So I was
if we had
disappointed.
never heard 3 Stacks, it would have been fine. But unfortunately, / fortunately, we were blessed with the Under 3000 verse. So like, sorry. No, literally no one else could give a verse that would matter.
Yep. I'm with it. All right. Next track. Rather Die Young.
Trying to remember Rather Die Young. Honestly, Rather Die Young and Start Over are the two that I'm like, I don't really remember them that well. So I don't know.
Fine. I have those as R&B. Rather Die Young, I could see being pop. You know what? Start Over kind of too. Those are iffy. Love on Top. That's R&B.
That is extremely R&B. I mean, it's based on what? New Edition?
Yeah. What about Countdown?
Also R&B to me. But
Same.
I understand the argument for pop there. I understand the argument for pop for both Love on Top and Countdown. I think they're incorrect. But I get it because, especially Love on Top. Love on Top is a song that, like, there are not many lyrics. Like, the verses are so short. Every other second, there's a key change. And I'm like, but you were just singing a verse and we're back to the hook already. And that is like a pop fixture for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's the bounce for me is what makes it such an R&B. Exactly. Ryan is like shimmying her shoulders a little bit. And that is what makes that like an R&B record to me. That, and like I said, the obvious New Edition influence, which was, you know, that's a whole nother episode about whether New Edition was a pop R&B group as well.
Ooh. We'll be back. Cool. So Love on Top, I would say R&B. Countdown, I could see R&B or pop. I could see it, but
the Countdown also features vocals from Boyz II Men. So it's like, once again, if you're another element to me of R&B is like sampling, especially contemporary R&B, and both of those songs are sampled from classic R&B records. So like, kind of by proxy, they're R&B to me.
Hey, what were the 5-year-olds on TikTok calling Chopped and Screwed a few months ago?
You're asking me about TikTok? In my big age?
So I can't remember exactly what it was. Actually, I'm just going to look it up. They were calling Chopped, slow and reverbed or something.
Wow. Just take out all the flavor of it. Wow. That feels really disrespectful.
Yeah, slow and reverb. It's so bad. But I think maybe the next generation of pop artists whose names we won't know and will mispronounce and misidentify.
And talk about how music was real back in our day.
Yeah, Beyonce. Yeah. That was an artist, young child. Anyway, did we talk about End of Time?
No. To me, End of Time is an R&B record. Just because of like, not just because, but mainly because of like the vocal prowess that goes into that song.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's something that you need to be an R&B artist to possess, or like have the capabilities of making R&B. Because like Christina Aguilera is a pop artist who makes mostly pop music, but if she wanted to like tone it down a little bit and go over to R&B, she could.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is kind of what that would sound like to me.
Fair. What about, we talked about I Was Here. What about Run the World or Girls?
Pop record like shit.
Easy Money.
Am I allowed to curse on here?
I don't care.
Okay.
And your big age, I can't tell you what to do. So let's do a count. So
I was not keeping score.
Me neither. I'm trying to do it off the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's pretty evenly split between pop and R&B. So you work at a physical retailer. Where are you putting this album, in the pop or R&B section? This is a final decider.
I'm putting the pop section because it's Beyonce. And she is like basically a genre in herself. Like, for example, I know that at Columbia Records, she is categorized as a pop artist there.
Okay.
Probably because I imagine they give more of the resources to pop than any other genre. I can't say that for sure, so Columbia Records don't come for me. But that is my assumption. And I want Beyonce to do well.
Of course. But I also feel like at this point in her career, she can kind of be like, she can do whatever she wants or tell them to do what she wants to.
Yeah, for sure.
If she wanted to. Not a ton of Grammy nominations for 4. But Party was nominated for Best Rap Song Collaboration. And Love on Top was nominated for Best R&B Performance. So I think we nailed those 2, at least. Yeah. I guess.
Recording Academy, call us.
Yes. Okay. So let's just like take a pause and look at her discography up until this point. Dangerously in Love, R&B. B-Day, R&B. Sasha Fierce, Pop, 4, Pop. We have, 2 albums left to decide? Mm-hmm. I mean, we've already decided that Beyonce has released an R&B album, but is the majority of her catalog R&B or pop? Still up for debate. So let's go to Beyonce. First question, do you remember where you were when this album came out?
Yes, and it is a fantastic story.
Go for it.
So, my best friend Alex and I, shout out to Alex, who will listen to this because I'm going to make him. We went to see Drake in Chicago at the United Center. So we were leaving the arena after the concert and we're headed to the car and we see people like looking at their phones en masse, but yet again, like, I don't know, this is America in whatever year. Of course, everybody's always on their phones. And then we get to the car and Alex just goes, "Oh my God." And I'm like, "Is everything okay? Like, what's up?" And he's like, I think Beyonce just dropped an album. And I'm in the car with like one other person. And we're all just like, what? We like go to Twitter and I see like Twitter just on fire. And then I'm like, but like, I don't remember what phone I had back then. I think I was a new iPhone user. So I really wasn't sure what I was doing. So I got home and that's when I realized what had happened. And I got to actually like watch some of the videos and everything like that. But yeah, just to watch like everybody at once, a whole arena of people realize what's happening as like a ripple effect was just wild. How about you?
Here's what happened to me. I was staying with my cousin in Baltimore. I just finished watching Scandal. This was peak Scandal. It was a mid-season finale, and it was a big one. It was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for the next episode in like 2 months. So I get off, or I like turn the TV off, and then I hop on my computer, hop on my phone and stuff. And then I don't remember how exactly I discovered it, but eventually I knew Beyonce had an album. I purchased it from iTunes immediately. iTunes broke shortly thereafter, which I know happened for J. Cole a couple of years ago, but that was streaming. This was literally people, however many hundreds of thousands of people spending $10 to listen to an album, which wouldn't happen today.
Sorry, I interrupt you, but I really thought Jermaine was about to catch another stray.
No. It was impressive. Like he broke iTunes or Apple Music or whatever, but Beyonce broke iTunes as people were like spending way more money as opposed to like pennies on the penny on streams. So listen to that, watch that, learned what a stripper wind up was from the Drunk in Love video.
Okay, yeah.
I took Joe Biden's Amtrak to visit some friends in Philadelphia the next day, and I was watching the videos and I was watching Partition or Blow or something. And I was like, I'm going to get kicked off this train for indecency. Like, a little conductor with his hat and the ticket puncher is going to be like, ma'am, you can't watch that.
There are children here.
Yes. And I mean, but so Beyonce, the album by Beyonce, represented like a huge shift for her.
Absolutely.
In terms of like being more open and more explicit about her sexuality, which was gross if you think about it because she's singing about Jay-Z. And yeah, let's not think about it too much. Let's go to the first track, Pretty Hurts.
That's a pop
R&B
record.
pop.
That's a pop record.
I left it blank, so I agree with you. Haunted.
Also a pop record to me. But I said it like that because, again, I could understand the argument the other way, but it just feels like something that belongs, like, on a soundtrack for, like, a major motion picture.
For sure. Title track, the video that broke the internet, Drunk in Love.
Yeah, that's definitely an R&B record. I mean, the hook alone, all the runs that are in the hook, that's R&B. And the unfortunate reference that I really, really hate is the Tina Turner anime. You don't get that if you aren't familiar with R&B.
True. You know what my brother hates?
What?
Breastises. Hates it. He hates it.
Also fair.
That has no bearing. I guess that's something you'd probably only hear in an R&B song, but he hates it. I have like an aside.
Mm-hmm.
Partition, Jealous, Rocket, Mine, like that 4-song run, I think is one of the best on an album. I love those songs.
Yeah, me too. Actually, Jealous, don't hate it, but like I don't have the same feelings I do about it as I do. Honestly, okay, I agree with you, but I would switch out Blow for Jealous. And then it'd be like it for me.
I'll take that. So, and then Blow, No Angel. So are any of the other remaining tracks pop tracks to you?
EXO is a pop track to me.
Easily EXO. But I like it, but it's definitely a pop song.
Yeah. That's it though, to me.
Yeah, so I think you have 3 pop songs and the rest like straight up R&B. Drunken Love, Blow, No Angel, Rocket. The first time you heard Rocket, I was like, oh, girl.
We're doing this, huh?
Okay. And then I love Mine. I feel like for a Drake song, that didn't get as much play as I thought it would. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I liked Mine, but it also gave me very similar, what was that song? Unthinkable vibes.
That's rude.
I know, because I know. But I did enjoy that song, even though I thought it was trifling. And I won't get into my feelings there because I could be here all day and we're not here for that. But they're very similar to me. And I feel like that moment had kind of passed by the time this song came out.
Okay, that's fair. You know what I want more than anything in the world?
What?
The video footage of Beyonce and Alicia making their video for Put In a Love Song.
Right.
Like, I would sell Cooper for that.
Can
Cooper's my dog, y'all.
Right now?
I mean, he's a dog, and I think they have good hearing, but he didn't like bark or anything, so she knows I love him. Shout out Spot. Interesting about Beyonce. It looks like it was nominated for Album of the Year and nothing else.
Oh, I mean, go off.
I'm diving deeper into Wikipedia. That can't be right. I'm not gonna keep scrolling. Next episode. Anyway, this is an R&B album, so that's 3 R&B albums, 2 pop albums. Favorite song on Beyonce?
I'm gonna go with Partition, and I'm going with Partition because, one, Timbaland, like, when does he really, at least on R&B side of things, when does Timbaland go wrong? Pop side, he's made a few errors to me, but R&B, I can really never go wrong with the Timbo beat. Also, I have really interesting memories with that. Shout out to Alex. I won't go into detail because it's a family-friendly podcast. But Blow was a very close second as well. How about you?
I think Drunken Love. Just so many fun memories.
Absolutely.
So many fun memories.
Surfboard.
Of like Watermelon. So many fun memories of like singing it when it came out, and then like I moved and got like my first big girl job shortly after the album release, and like listening to it with my friends. You remember all the videos of like the little kids singing it?
Yep.
That was another great moment. And then my friend, love him to death, just like not in tune with pop culture, watched the video and called me. He's like, Ryan, I just watched Drunken Love. Why didn't you tell me about this video sooner? Like, why did I need to tell you about this video? Everybody was talking about it.
Right.
It wasn't a secret. It literally broke iTunes.
Right. So was that your favorite video as well?
Ooh, good question. I don't know if it's my favorite. It's like the most iconic video. I really like the Superpower video is kind of fun. Just because, like, Beyonce, I'm not sorry. Superpower video was kind of fun because Kelly and Michelle showed up. That was cute.
It's always a good time anytime they show up, for sure.
Anytime they show up.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, because my favorite video, I'm actually blanking on which song it was, but it's the video where she is just like in Houston and all these legends start, like I remember watching on my friend's couch, on my friend Stevie's couch, so again, shout out to Stevie. And I remember feeling like, I feel like Bun B is just gonna just like pop up out of nowhere. And then like 3 seconds later, Bun B pops up. And I like really love whenever artists give like these love letters to the places that they're from. And she did
I think that was No Angel.
Yeah, you're right. It was.
I'm always right.
That's why we're doing this podcast. Because you're correcting people.
You're right. Yes, I'm correcting people. Wesley. Here we go. Okay, so as a correction, I did say Beyonce was only nominated for Album of the Year. Not true. It was nominated for Album of the Year, Best Contemporary, Urban Contemporary Album, Best Surround Sound Album, Best R&B Song, and Best R&B Performance.
Mm. One day we'll tackle urban. One day we'll tackle urban as a genre.
So that's Beyonce. Just like a huge cultural moment. I'll never forget where I was when that album dropped. I'll never forget going to that concert.
I mean,
we didn't.
It was a shift. It was a cultural shift. And I know Twitter loves that phrase, but like, it's true. Because who else was doing the surprise albums? And it's like, nobody can ever do a surprise album that makes me care like the world cared about this album.
Yes. To quote Beyonce, know where you were when that digital dropped. And I can't remember the rest of the lyrics, but you do. You remember.
Yeah.
And then, you know what we didn't talk about? This is going way back. We didn't talk about her revealing she was pregnant performing Love on Top.
Yes. And I think that's another reason why I love that song so much. Because again, it's such a joyous song. And then like to have that joyous moment and to see Jay-Z and Kanye hopping around like they're freaking 11-year-old boys was just so adorable. And I'm really glad that she shared it with us like that. I remember watching that performance with my mom. And my mom being like, wow, I've never seen Beyonce so covered up, which like felt really shady. And then at the end, I was like, oh, well, makes sense.
Okay, speaking of moms, I know several of my aunts, like my mom, thought like Beyonce was like way too explicit as compared to like other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember like older people commenting on her shift in tone?
Honestly, like, I was gonna say not really, but I do remember my mom, like, I think she performed Drunk in Love at the Grammys, and she was just like in all this water, and it was so overtly sexual. My mom was like, she's doing a lot here, but I don't remember it being like a huge discussion like freaking WAP has been this past year.
Oh, yeah. No, not nearly as explicit as WAP, but okay. So
I feel like you have quotables from Patricia.
I don't even have quotables, just like still images of her looking terrified, absolutely shocked. And then her messaging me a couple days later so she could play it for her sisters. What's that trashy song you had me listening to in the car? This was early pandemic, you know, and I needed some giggles.
Yep.
So I just got in the car, played WAP on her phone. For everybody listening, I got in the car, played WAP on her phone, recorded her reaction on my phone, and it was hilarious. Maybe I'll release that as bonus content.
On
Find
Patreon.
me on Patreon. Ryan's mom listening to WAP. Oh, goodness. And I have to explain, but Megan's from Houston. She goes to Texas Southern.
She's good. She's good. It's fine.
Yeah, did not give her a pass. Okay. We're coming up on our time. We have one album left.
Okay.
Lemonade by Beyonce. Also a pretty big moment.
Oh my gosh.
She debuted the visual album on HBO.
Debuted her marital problems.
Ayo. Becky with the good hair. I mean, this was really cool. And maybe, I know earlier I said Beyonce was my favorite, but now that I'm about to talk about it, I think I'm going to change my answer to Lemonade. First, R&B or pop?
Neither. It's just, this is one, honestly, I could understand the argument for being your favorite because it's one that you actually cannot categorize because there are so many different genres that I don't think one reigns supreme. And a lot of the genres that are on there, like, can go. I mean, a lot of the songs on there that can be categorized as multiple genres as well. Like, Freedom, to me, is a pop record, but it's R&B inspired. So I don't know. I think this one just kind of, it doesn't fit in any of those boxes. How about you?
I would say more R&B. I would categorize more songs on this album as R&B, but I agree that there are a lot of different genres represented on this album. Daddy Lessons, like straight country, maybe if you want to say Zydeco. Don't Hurt Yourself is a rock, like Jack White, classic rock song. Hold Up samples, Vampire Weekend, but also Soulja Boy. But
I'm looking at this track list again, and like, are you making me change my favorite Beyonce album? Because I'm looking at, like, all these songs are so good. I think I love B-Day because of, like, it reminds me of, like, that period of my life where I was, like, a kid enjoying Beyonce. And I was a journalism major in college, and I knew I wanted to study journalism after I wrote an album review of Beyonce, or of B-Day by Beyonce. And I think that was, like, a pivotal moment in my life, which is why I think I love B-Day. But I'm looking at this track listing, like, I don't dislike any of these songs. I just like some more than others.
This album, so I mentioned earlier, Beyonce does concept albums. I think she's really good at that. And I think that's kind of understated in her career. I think with I Am Sasha Fierce, like, you have a cohesive idea, whether or not you like the album. You have B-Day, which drew inspiration from, a certain era, and she executed that pretty well. Beyonce is like a coming out party, and Lemonade is like this dude fucked up party.
Yeah.
And she accompanies that with visuals. On Beyonce, they were all separate. In Lemonade, it's like a movie.
Yeah.
A cohesive movie, which turns into, which equals, I think in this case, a cohesive album. It's like Pray You Catch Me. That's kind of nebulous to me. Hold Up, pop. Don't Hurt Yourself, rock. Sorry, R&B, 6 Inch with The Weeknd.
See,
and he's
can we go back for a second before we continue?
Okay. Yeah.
You were very, very quick to call Hold Up a pop record. Why? Because, like, there's no debate there.
I don't know. The chorus kind of reminds me of R&B. She does use the same sample from Countdown.
You got
also sample Soulja Boy.
Soulja Boy, you got the reggae
Maybe it's
influence.
just the yellow dress. Maybe I'm just thinking of the yellow dress and I'm happy and I'm saying pop.
Yeah.
But you know what? You might know what this is. I was thinking about this as I was, like, working to categorize this album. You remember the legal case where it's like, I don't know what porn is, but I can't define porn, but I know it when I see it.
Obscenity, yeah.
Hold Up is pop. I don't know how to define it, but I heard it and I believe it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm fine with that. I don't vehemently disagree, but I also feel like it's maybe like R&B influence pop once again, because she blends that song in Homecoming with No No No, which is a classic reggae record. And it's like, is that possible with something like, I don't know, Irreplaceable is a slow song, but I'm using an example of a song that's like undeniably pop. I don't know if that's possible.
I don't know.
But yeah, anyway, we can continue.
Okay, so Sorry. That's R&B. Serena was in the video.
Yeah, I mean, that's Becky with the good hair. Please. It's R&B.
Suck on my balls.
Me and my baby, we're going to be all right.
I like my quote better, but sure. 6 Inch featuring The Weeknd. He's like I was about to say this. He's kind of a nebulous artist.
I was going to say Weeknd is pretty solidly pop.
You think so?
But maybe also, not gonna lie, I'm not a big fan of The Weeknd, so I'm not super familiar with his discography. Like, I've heard definitely songs that lean more R&B, but like as a whole, I consider him a pop artist. But it's also because like I also know a ton of middle-aged white women that love him, so it's not even really all his fault.
So where would you put 6 Inch?
Honestly, 6 Inch just feels like a rock song to me, but it's definitely like rock / pop to me, and it's not an R&B record.
I can see that. I'll take that. Okay. So Daddy Lessons.
Is country.
That's country. Love Drought.
Love Drought? I think Love Drought and Sandcastles both can be considered pop records.
I have Sandcastles as pop. I have Love Drought as R&B.
That's also fair. I'm not like I'm very sure that Castles is a pop record, but Love Drought can go either way to me. But it's also Beyonce, right? Like she's gonna bring elements of everything into like she's gonna bring elements of R&B no matter what she does. So that's what makes this tricky. It's like pop record or not, you're gonna hear Beyonce hit a crazy vocal run. You're gonna likely hear a harmony that's uniquely Beyonce, which is uniquely Black church. Maybe not as strongly as you do in Party, but they're like typically in there somewhere.
For sure. Forward, I don't care about that interlude. But as I said earlier, interludes are R&B. So
yep. Okay, I'm with it.
You said Freedom was pop leaning R&B?
I did. And I say that because a lot of it's so anthemic, right? And when I think of like anthemic songs, a lot of them they're either like super hip hop or pop. This is not a crazy hip hop record. It has K-Dot on it, who did a fantastic job, but it's not a hip hop record. So if it's between hip hop or pop, for me, it's gonna be a pop record. I can hear Freedom at stadiums in a way that I'm not gonna hear, I don't know, a classic R&B record.
Did you go to the Formation World Tour?
I did not.
The Freedom performance was, like you said, anthemic. She walked on water.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that at the Grammys.
Oh yeah, she did at the Grammys. Duh.
Was the BET Awards? I think it was the BET Awards. It was BET because her mom accepted her award for her, and I remember that because her mom was speaking, and I just like sat up straight and was like paying attention as if she were like my mom or like she's in that age group where you automatically get more respect. And I was like, she can't even see me. This is ridiculous. That's Miss Tina.
That's so funny, especially considering how well, not you, but how I did not sit up and pay attention for some of my online classes. Anyway, All Night and Formation.
All Night is a pop record.
What?
Yes. Really?
I disagree with you. And I can't sing, so I can't point it out. But let's just be silent for 15 seconds so Phil can plug in the part of it that I think is R&B. And then you'll hear it later and won't be able to defend yourself. No, I think All Night is R&B.
I'm trying.
Yeah, I can't sing. I hate that I can't sing.
You know what? I totally take that back. My bad. Because you said All Night. I heard Love Drought.
Fair.
Similar. They're similar, but yes. Yes. Okay.
And I had Love Drought as R&B too. Boom. Okay. Formation.
Formation is an R&B record, but it's an R&B record lyrically. I mean, in itself, it's the blackest record I'd heard in a while. But I think part of the reason that it was such a big record, other than the fact of being like Beyonce, was that like, well, not other than the fact of being Beyonce, but like there was all this black content on a huge record. And I'm saying that to say that like, if someone would say it was pop, that would be the basis, because musically it's so R&B, but it's bringing all this black stuff to a pop audience. So in that way, it could be miscategorized as pop, but the elements to me are still so very R&B.
And you bring up a really good point, and another great Beyonce SNL skit. If you remember,
I love that skit. That's probably my second favorite SNL skit ever.
When Beyonce turned black, or like when white people realized Beyonce was black, whatever the title was. Again, you guys know I'm not good with titles, making the video. But yeah, it was, people were upset about Formation.
I love that skit. I remember my favorite part of that skit was this one of the guys saying, Beyonce's black? I thought she was a woman.
I forgot. But I will definitely, if you haven't watched that skit, or if you're like me, haven't watched that skit in a few years, if it's still on the internet, I will put the link to the show notes. Who knows what SNL and NBC are doing with their intellectual property.
Maybe it's only on Peacock now. Who knows?
What's that? Not familiar.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Can't say I've ever used it. When Beyonce turned black. But there was just like a lot of hubbub around Beyonce Formation, because if you remember, she performed at the Super Bowl.
Shut it down. Lights
She
out.
No, that was a different performance. She performed at Super Bowl.
This is
by herself.
Bruno Mars.
It was she joined. It was actually Coldplay's show.
Oh right, and everybody's like, "Wait, they're not entertaining enough. We need Bruno."
Yes.
Oh wait, we need Beyonce.
Case in point, it took you 2 tries to realize that they were even there. And she came out and did Formation. Bruno came out and did Uptown Funk. Chris Paul, excuse me. Chris Martin was just in the back. I'm here too, guys. Woo woo. Viva la vida.
White t-shirt. Woo.
Yes. And I can't believe we missed talking about the Super Bowl. That is totally my bad. Super Bowl performance came. Yeah, came after Beyonce.
That was the like I told you how like Beachella had me like just on my ass for a week, but like the Super Bowl was like the precursor to that because I was like, this woman's work ethic is unprecedented. I cannot imagine. And then the lights went out and I'm like, you know what? It only makes sense.
It only makes sense. Okay, let's get a final answer on Lemonade, then recap Beyonce's career.
Okay. Lemonade is not an R&B album to me.
Lemonade is not an R&B album. You know what? I'm okay with that, but I wouldn't call it a pop album either.
Right. It's just, it defies genre.
Which, again, I think Beyonce is... We don't have time to unpack this, but similar to Drake, I think she's able to navigate different genres very well.
Yeah.
Dangerously in Love, R&B. B-Day, R&B. Sasha Fierce, pop. 4, R&B. Beyonce, R&B. And then Lemonade is neither. All that to say, R&B still takes a cake.
Yeah, it does.
In conclusion, Beyonce has never released an R&B album. That can't be right. Has been proven wrong. And I had a really good time proving him wrong.
So did I. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So Beyonce is, I think, for the most part, an R&B artist who can explore other genres very well. Lemonade came out 5 years ago.
Yikes. Don't age me like this.
Lemonade came out in April 2016. So we're coming up on the 5-year anniversary, depending on when this episode releases.
Lemonade is in virtual kindergarten.
Lemonade's in virtual kindergarten, pissing their parents off.
Yep.
Suck on my balls. But we've heard Beyonce on Everything Is Love with her husband Jay-Z. We've heard Beyonce in her Lion King tie-in album, I guess you could say. Where do you think she's going next, if you had to guess? Because that's what it is. It's a guess. I don't, unless you know Beyonce and haven't told me, in which case, now's the time.
Oh, that's a good question. I think she's just going to start working, not just, that sounds weird, but I think she may start working with more British artists like Grime, because Grime has been, you know, like becoming more and more popular over time, especially with, you know, Drake giving so many cosigns. And I think that might be like her next lane, at least with collaborations. And, you know, Beyonce likes to rap, so maybe she'll rap with along, you know, in that cadence and flow too.
Yeah. But y'all, that is the Beyonce rundown. Beyonce has released R&B albums. She has released pop albums. She has released kind of genre-bending, genre-breaking concept albums. And I think she's really good at it. I love her. If you disagree with any of the songs we went through and you want to fight me, let's start it on Twitter at TCBRPod. Lesley, do you want to shout out your Twitter, or are you incognito?
My Twitter that you can actually access is called @ATribeCalledLess. So hit me up there if you vehemently agree or disagree, or just want to say hi.
Love it. Love it. Lesley, thank you so much for joining me on That Can't Be Right.
Thank you for having me.
I think we nailed it.
I think
we nailed it.
I mean, the bottom line is it is very possible for R&B albums to be popular, but that doesn't mean that they're pop.
Yes, and Black people can also make pop music.
There you go.
I think we just fixed racism.
There you go. I mean, watch the Tina Turner documentary for more information on that, because she straight up says, I made rock and roll music.
That is a good point.
All right, it's time to go.
Yeah, let's wrap it there. I'm going to stop recording. Woo! Thanks again to my fake twin, Lesley Gwam, for joining me on this episode of That Can't Be Right. This is the last Beyonce episode in the pipeline, but send me your ideas because it doesn't have to be the last one forever. At TCBRPod on Twitter, Instagram, or you can send an email, thatcan'tberightpod@gmail.com. If you like it, then you should put 5 stars on it. I'll see myself out now. Bye.